Hi, Mark Orwoll is at it again, coming to you today from a very chilly New York. If only I had some hot snails to warm me up.
Let the swing begin. Mark Orwoll is at it again, and that cat is swinging. Yeah, that cat is swinging. The party don't stop when Mark's in the spin.
Now that the Great Snail Heist of 2025 is well behind us, I think this is a good time to consider whether we should be eating snails at all. Let me explain. Sometime during the week of November 17th, 2025, just as millions of Americans were doing their last-minute grocery shopping for Thanksgiving, a team of robbers in northeastern France stole 990 pounds of farmed snails worth $100,000. The burglary took place in a small village near Rennes, which is known for its world-famous champagne. The name of the village? Boozy. You can't make this up. I mean, of course it is. They just sit around drinking champagne and eating snails all day. What else would you call it but boozy? L'escargot des Grands Crus, founded in Boozy in 1999, is one of just a handful of small family snail farms in France, a country that eats 37 million pounds of snails every year, according to the New York Times. What I find most interesting about that is that the New York Times actually knows how many pounds of snails Frenchmen eat. This is why young folks go into journalism, and why I trust the New York Times. The French, however, are facing a severe escargot drought. There just aren't enough of those mollusks to go around. The price, according to leading economic indicators, is now really, really high. So instead of packing a bunch of dead snails into little Armand's lunchbox as he leaves for école primaire each morning, the French are limiting their snail intake to holidays and special occasions like Easter and funerals. Marie Claire, the French women's magazine, has many wonderful holiday recipes for snails. For example, bonbons d'escargot are, quote, perfect for a cocktail party or a Christmas buffet. Also, the editors encourage you to try escargot lollipops, which, if Google Translate is working properly, the editors describe as, quote, atrocious and, quote, truly revolting. How the theft occurred at L'Escargot des Grands Crus is still under investigation, but one thing is clear. You don't dump a half-ton of snails into the trunk of a deux chevaux. No, this theft required precise planning and a really big car. Tellingly, the French don't make big cars, which is why all eyes are on Germany as the source of the culprits. But I don't want to start a third world war based on random, though well-informed speculation, so I'll tell you why I'm so interested in this in the first place. When I was a boy in La Mirada, California, in the 1950s and 60s, I never wore shoes, except to school and to Prince of Peace Lutheran Church on Sunday mornings, where I was an altar boy in charge of lighting candles and sipping the sacramental wine. I went barefoot to Thrifty's drugstore for a triple scoop, to Dolly Paspong's house to ask her on a date, and to my job as a gas jockey at Jiffy service station. That led me to walk across many La Mirada lawns, including my own, where in the evening when the dew had settled, vast hordes of snails would descend on the grass, searching for Lord knows what. They were everywhere. Take 3 steps onto the dichondra and crunch, crunch, crunch. You were certain to smash into at least 3 snails. The French think escargot lollipops are revolting. How about smashed snail mucus buried in your flesh? In my family's garage, we always had about 14 pounds of something called snail, which probably caused glaciers to melt and small islands to disappear below the ocean surface. But man, did it ever kill snails. They just kind of shriveled up. And snail wasn't just in the Orwoll's garage. Any garage you walked into had loads of the stuff. Snail, the company, should have given a medal or something to La Mirada. Snail's motto? Snail is toxic to pets and wildlife, and due to its toxicity, organic alternatives are often recommended. Probably needed a little tweaking, but you get the idea. The stuff really worked. When I had my first invitation to sample snails as a culinary dish, I was understandably less than enthusiastic. I had just arrived in Pamplona, Spain, of all places, as a college dropout with no money and eager for some kicks, man. The people I was with were paying, and there was plenty of beer, so I feebly squeaked, okay. All I knew about snails, from a dining perspective, was that snooty people at expensive white-cloth French restaurants in Manhattan ate them in New Yorker cartoons. Impatient diner to waiter. Why are the escargots so slow in coming out tonight? That night in Pamplona, the snails had been removed from their shells, chopped into fine bits, mixed with spices, and then stuffed back into their shells. You sucked the mishmash out of the shells with a loud whack. Since then, I've eaten escargot a handful of times. I'm no longer squeamish. I won't say I've gained an appetite for them, but they don't want to make me vomit anymore. But enough about my digestive system. Let's think about the real victims here. The children, for they are our future. Since the Great Snail Heist of 2025 in Boozy, French kids will have to do with second-rate alternatives to escargots, such as whole grains, fresh vegetables, and coq au vin drenched in Pinot Noir. French mothers will now have to sit their children down at the kitchen table and tell them flat out, Je suis désolé, mon chéri, mais il n'y aura pas d'escargot à Noël cette année. Il faudra te contenter d'un pigeon nu. It is to weep. Hey, I'm Mark Orwoll, at it again. Come back next week. Share this with a friend. Read the referral thing here on the Substack version. And I'll see you around. Bye. Au revoir.
Let the swing begin. Mark Orwoll is at it again, and that cat is swinging. Yeah, that cat is swinging. The party don't stop when Mark's in the spin.